The sky burned red with twin suns casting long shadows over the battlefield. Smoke twisted into strange shapes as the cries of the dying echoed across the barren land. Broken machines and shattered armor littered the ground. Among the chaos, one figure struggled to stand, a warrior unlike any other. She was Kylara, a commander of the Valkyra Empire, known across the stars for her fearlessness and skill. Her silver skin glimmered in the dying light, and her blue eyes, normally bright and sharp, now flickered weakly with pain. Her armor, once pristine, was scorched and cracked, fused to her skin in places where the battle had been too cruel. She had fought countless wars, led countless victories, but never had she felt so helpless. Every breath was a struggle. Each movement sent waves of pain across her body. She had been ambushed by a rogue fleet, outnumbered and overpowered. Her soldiers lay scattered around her, some alive, some lifeless. She knew she could not carry them all to safety. The thought pierced her heart like a blade. She had always been taught to be strong, to never falter, to never let weakness show. Yet now, lying among the fallen, she felt fear. A raw, cold fear that gripped her chest. She crawled over twisted metal, dragging herself toward what she hoped was safety. Her vision blurred as smoke and dust choked her lungs. Every step was agony, but she forced herself to move. The world around her was alien, strange, and terrifying. She had crash-landed on a planet far from her home. A green world full of strange sounds and smells. A world of life she had never seen. And yet she was not alone. Something watched her. She felt it in the air, in the way the shadows moved, in the soft rustle of the trees. She did not know if it was friend or foe, but her instincts told her to keep moving. Kylara's blood seeped through her armor, burning the soil beneath her like acid. Every drop reminded her of her vulnerability, of her mortality, concepts alien to her people. She had always believed that warriors were invincible, that fear was a weakness. But now, for the first time in her life, she knew how it felt to be truly fragile. Her body screamed for rest, for relief, for escape. But her mind refused to yield. She had a duty even here, even now. Survival was not just for herself. It was for the honor of her people, for the memory of those she had lost. She collapsed beneath a tree, her body shivering, though the twin suns burned hot above her. She pressed her hand to the wound in her side, feeling the warmth of her blood soak her fingers. Her breathing was ragged. Her heart, though strong, was weakening. Time was running out. She knew that if she did not get help soon, she would die alone, far from home, far from anyone who could save her. Her mind raced through possibilities, strategies, any chance of survival. But nothing seemed enough. Her species, powerful as they were, had no presence here. No one would come for her. She was truly alone, and then she saw it. A faint light in the distance. Not the flicker of an approaching ship. Not the glow of her people's technology, but something entirely different. A small figure moving carefully, cautiously toward her. Human, she realized instinctively. They were fragile, weak compared to her kind, unarmed and untrained for war. Yet there was something in their approach that sparked a strange hope in her heart. Perhaps it was bravery. Perhaps it was curiosity. Or perhaps it was mercy. Kylara tried to lift her head, but the effort was too much. She could only watch as the human came closer, their figure small and vulnerable against the devastation of the battlefield. She wanted to speak, to warn them, to push them away. Her pride, her training screamed that no one should help a dying warrior, but her body refused to obey. She could only wait, shivering, bleeding, and hoping that this fragile creature could do what her own kind could not, save her. Her heart, fierce and unbroken despite the pain, beat with a strange new emotion. Fear mingled with hope, agony with relief. For the first time, she realized that perhaps survival did not always belong to the strongest. Perhaps sometimes it belonged to those who had the courage to reach out, to act, to care, even when everything else told them not to. And so as the human knelt beside her, reaching out without hesitation, Kylara felt a tear slip down her silver cheek. In that moment, the battlefield, the pain, and the fear all faded. The warrior, proud, fearless, unstoppable, understood something she had never known. Even the strongest need saving sometimes. Aaron Blake had always lived a quiet life. His days were filled with the hum of machines, the smell of oil, and the endless sky above his small farm. He liked the simplicity of his routine, fixing tractors, repairing engines, and watching the stars at night. Life was predictable, safe, and calm, until that night. The sky cracked with a blinding light like 1,000 flashes of lightning at once. Aaron felt the ground shake beneath his feet. The air smelled of fire and something unfamiliar, something metallic. He ran toward the source, heart hammering. At first he thought it was a meteor, maybe a small crash from space debris. But when he reached the edge of the forest, he froze. There, in a smoking crater, lay a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. Silver skin glimmered in the strange light and her eyes shone blue, almost painfully bright. Her armor was broken. Blood glowed faintly against her chest, and every breath she took seemed like a battle. Aaron felt a chill run down his spine. He wanted to turn away, to run and pretend he hadn't seen this creature. But something inside him stopped. A small voice whispered, "Help her." Aaron's hands shook as he approached. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, unsure if she could understand him. Her eyes snapped open, sharp and fierce. "Do not touch me, human," she hissed. "My blood is poison to your kind." Aaron swallowed hard. He had no weapons, no armor, nothing to defend himself, yet he stepped closer. I'll be careful. Just stay still, all right?" For a moment she seemed to study him, searching for weakness, searching for truth. Finally she nodded slightly. Pain flickered across her face, but she did not resist. Aaron's heart ached at the sight of her struggle. He had seen accidents before, machines breaking, animals hurt, but never a being so strong, so proud, brought to her knees by wounds. He looked around, realizing the forest was quiet. Too quiet. The air smelled of smoke and ash. He needed to get her somewhere safe. He lifted her slowly, feeling the weight of her broken body. She was heavier than she looked, stronger in body than any human, yet fragile now in ways she had never imagined. He carried her to his small workshop, a place filled with tools, metal scraps, and memories of a peaceful life. It was nothing compared to her world, nothing compared to the battlefields she had survived, yet it was safe. For now. Aaron gently laid her down on a workbench, grabbing blankets and old medical supplies. "We'll patch you up. Don't worry," he said, more to convince himself than her. Kalara's lips twitched. "You are foolish," she whispered, her voice weak but full of pride. "I am a warrior of the Valkyra. I should die here." Aaron shook his head. "Everyone deserves a chance to live. Even warriors. Especially warriors." She looked at him then, really looked, and for the first time, her blue eyes softened. This human, fragile, small, and untrained, had the courage of 10 soldiers. He was risking his life without fear, without expectation, without glory. It was a kind of strength she had never known, a power beyond weapons or armor. Hours passed. Aaron cleaned her wounds as best he could, his hands trembling as he worked. The blood burned his gloves, and the pain he felt watching her suffer was unbearable. She flinched, whispered in pain, but never screamed. She was a warrior, yes, but even warriors could not hide the terror of dying alone. Aaron talked to her as he worked, his voice calm, soft, reassuring. "You'll be okay. You're strong. You survived the crash. You'll survive this." She wanted to scoff, wanted to tell him she didn't need comfort, but every word seeped into her soul. Every gentle touch reminded her that strength was not always about fighting, not always about winning. Sometimes, strength was about letting someone care, about trusting another even when it seemed impossible. By the time night fell, the first flickers of her strength returned. She could move her fingers, lift her head slightly. And when she looked at him, really looked, she saw not a weak human, but a hero, someone brave enough to risk everything for another. Kalara realized then that her survival, her very life, depended not on her own strength, but on this human's courage. A strange feeling blossomed inside her, respect, awe, maybe even gratitude. A connection that spanned worlds, species, and the endless void of space. And Aaron, tired but determined, whispered as he cleaned the last of the blood from her wound. "You're going to make it. I promise." For the first time since the battle, Kalara allowed herself to believe it. The night was quiet except for the occasional crackle of fire from the distant forest. Aaron had done everything he could with what he had: old tools, grease, rags, and his determination. Yet when he looked at Kalara, he knew it was not enough. Her breathing was uneven, each inhalation a painful struggle. Her silver skin glowed faintly from the wounds that no human should ever touch, and her chest rose and fell with agonizing effort. I don't know what to do," Aaron whispered more to himself than to her. I'm not a doctor. I'm just me. Kalara's blue eyes opened, sharp and bright despite the pain. She tried to lift her head, and it was clear she wanted to speak, to scold him for his foolishness. Instead, she whispered hoarsely, human. My blood, it burns. The shard. Near my heart. Must come out. Aaron froze. He had seen accidents, broken bones, even the injuries of animals. But this was beyond him. The glowing shard embedded in her chest seemed alive, pulsing faintly as if mocking his human hands. One wrong move and it could end her life. Yet he knew. He could not let fear stop him. He had come too far, and the warrior before him had survived countless wars. She deserved a chance, even if it meant risking everything. Okay, he said, swallowing hard, voice trembling but firm. We'll do this together. You trust me, right? Kalara hesitated, her pride and warrior instincts clashing with the desperate need to survive. Finally, she nodded. Do your worst, human. Aaron took a deep breath, steeling his nerves. He grabbed pliers from his workbench, cleaned them with trembling hands, and bent over the glowing shard. It burned through her armor, fused to her skin like molten metal. Every touch sent sparks of pain across her body, yet she stayed still, gripping the edge of the bench. Hours passed. Aaron worked slowly, carefully wiping sweat from his brow. He spoke softly, giving her strength. Almost there. Just a little more. You're doing amazing. Kalara's breaths came in sharp gasps, but she clung to his voice. The pain was unbearable, yet the human's presence, his gentle touch, his courage, it anchored her. She had fought thousands, led armies, faced death countless times, but never had she felt such raw, selfless determination in another being. Finally, the shard loosened. Aaron lifted it with trembling hands and set it on the table beside them. Kalara gasped, her chest heaving with relief and exhaustion. Her glowing blood slowed, her breathing steadied, and tears slipped down her silver cheeks. She could not speak, could not find the words that matched the enormity of what had just happened. Aaron collapsed beside her, leaning against the bench. You did it, he said softly, though it was also meant for himself. We did it. Kalara looked at him, really looked, and saw something she had never expected. A human, fragile and small, had faced fear stronger than any battlefield she had ever commanded. He had risked everything for her, and in that moment she realized something profound. Strength was not just in skill or weapons. It was in courage, in mercy, in love. Her voice, barely a whisper, carried across the quiet workshop. You saved me, human. I owe you my life. Aaron shook his head. No, you saved yourself. I just helped a little. She tried to smile, but the pain still lingered. Still, she allowed herself a small, genuine warmth. For the first time in her life, she understood the truth. Even warriors need saving. And sometimes the savior comes from the most unexpected place. Outside, the stars shone cold and distant, but inside the small workshop, a bond had formed. Human and alien, different worlds, different bodies, yet united by something far stronger than metal or armor. They had faced death together, and both had survived. Aaron checked her wounds one last time, pressing soft cloths against the burns. Rest now. You're safe. I'll stay with you. Kalara's eyes, tired but bright, followed him. She had survived countless battles, seen the edge of life and death, and yet she had never felt the kind of hope that now filled her chest. She had never felt the quiet, steady strength of someone who refused to give up, even when everything seemed lost. And in that quiet night, with smoke drifting from the crater and the forest whispering around them, Kalara understood something that would stay with her forever. Courage was not measured in victories or bloodshed. It was measured in the heart. And this human, this small, fragile, reckless human, had the biggest heart she had ever known. The first rays of dawn filtered through the cracked windows of Aaron's small workshop. Dust sparkled in the light, and the faint smell of oil and metal mixed with the tang of Kalara's healing wounds. She lay on the workbench, awake now, her body still weak but her spirit slowly returning. Every breath was careful, measured, but the proud warrior in her stirred. She was not used to weakness, not used to relying on another being, especially a human. Aaron moved quietly around her, tending to her wounds, adjusting blankets, and checking the small repairs he had made to her armor. Despite the exhaustion that tugged at his limbs, he smiled faintly when she opened her eyes. Morning, he said softly. How are you feeling? Kalara's gaze shifted to him, studying him in silence. Her pride told her to speak harshly, to scold him for his foolish care. But the truth was more complicated. She felt something she had never expected. Gratitude, trust, even something like awe. Stronger, she said quietly. Because you stayed, Aaron chuckled softly. Of course I stayed. You'd do the same for me, I think. She turned her head slightly, curious. I do not understand humans. You are fragile, small. You do not have the strength of a Valkara soldier, yet you risked your life for me. Why? Aaron shrugged, though the seriousness in his eyes betrayed him. Because it's the right thing to do. Because someone needed help. Because I couldn't stand by and watch you die. Kailara stared at him, words failing her. She had seen countless warriors fall. Many more die without mercy or aid. In her world, strength was everything. Compassion was a luxury reserved for the strong. Yet here was a human, someone fragile and powerless by Valkara standards who had done what her strongest soldiers could not. He had faced fear without hesitation, and in doing so, he had changed her understanding of what strength could mean. Days passed slowly. Aaron made simple meals and tended to her wounds, teaching her about human ways while she watched quietly. She learned quickly, picking up tools, helping him repair engines, and listening to him explain things she had never imagined. He had no fancy technology, no plasma blades, no warships, yet he possessed something far more valuable: patience, resilience, and an unwavering sense of care. Kailara found herself opening up in ways she had never done with anyone. She told him stories of her homeworld, of battles fought, of comrades lost. Aaron listened, never judging, never pitying. When she faltered, when memories of war made her shiver, he would place a steady hand on her shoulder and remind her, "You're safe now. You're alive. That matters." And slowly, Kailara began to feel something new: trust. Not the kind born of duty or command, but the kind born of respect, admiration, and quiet wonder. She had fought wars, led armies, and survived countless dangers. Yet she had never felt as vulnerable and protected as she did now. She realized that her life had been saved not by skill alone, but by the courage and heart of a human being. One evening, as the twin suns set and painted the sky in fiery colors, Kailara turned to Aaron. "You are extraordinary," she said softly. "Your kind. Maybe weak in body, but your heart, it is strong beyond imagining." Aaron smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest he had never known. "We all have our strengths," he said gently. "Yours is just obvious." Kailara allowed herself a small, genuine smile, the first in days. She had been proud, fearless, unbroken. But never had she realized how much she had needed someone like him. Someone willing to stand beside her, to carry her when she could not move, to fight when she could not. She had believed that survival meant fighting alone, that weakness was failure. But now she understood. Survival and even strength was also about trust, about letting another being share the burden. That night, as the workshop grew quiet and the stars twinkled above, the bond between human and alien solidified. Words were not always necessary. A look, a gesture, a touch could speak volumes. Kailara rested her head slightly on the bench, watching Aaron as he organized tools, feeling a strange peace. For the first time since the battle, she allowed herself to believe that there could be life beyond pain, beyond war, beyond fear, and in that belief she found hope. In the quiet of that moment, she realized something she had never known. Courage was not just in fighting battles. Courage was in opening one's heart, trusting another, and accepting help when it mattered most. And Aaron, this human, small and fragile, yet unbreakably brave, had given her more than her life. He had given her hope, trust, and a new understanding of what it truly meant to be strong. The sun had barely risen when the sky shimmered in a strange metallic light. Kailara's senses, honed from years of war, instantly tensed. She rose slowly from the workbench, her body still weak, her armor patched as best as Aaron could manage. Something was coming, and it was not friendly. Aaron followed her, worry etched across his face. "What is it?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Kailara's blue eyes scanned the sky. "They are Valkara, but not friends, hunters. They come for me, and for you." Aaron's heart skipped a beat. "Hunters? What do you mean?" She swallowed hard, the pain in her chest reminding her of her fragility. "They are my people, but they will not see mercy. I failed my mission,
They will kill me.
and anyone who helped me survive. You must hide. Aaron shook his head, fists clenching. No, I'm not leaving you. You survived a battlefield. You survived a crash. I'm not running now. Kaylara studied him, her warrior instinct screaming at her to push him away. She knew he was human, fragile, untrained, unprepared for what was coming. He had no chance, and yet she saw the determination in his eyes, the fire that refused to be extinguished. He was not a soldier, but he was brave, and somehow that bravery was enough. They will not show mercy, she warned. You cannot fight them. Aaron's jaw tightened. Maybe I can't, but I won't let them take you. Not without a fight. Kaylara's heart thumped violently in her chest. Humans were unpredictable, reckless, yet full of courage that surpassed many of her kind. She realized that in all her years of war, she had never seen someone fight so fiercely with nothing but sheer will and heart. The ground trembled as the Valkyra ships descended, silver and crimson, sleek and deadly. They landed in the forest clearing, tearing up soil and trees. The hunters emerged, tall and imposing, their armor shining in the morning light. Their weapons glowed with lethal energy, and their eyes burned with the cold judgment of a people who punished failure without question. Aaron grabbed a hunting rifle from the corner, shaking slightly but determined. Kaylara placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch both warning and encouragement. Stay behind me, she said firmly. No, he said, gripping the rifle. I'm standing with you. Her heart ached both in fear and admiration. This human, fragile, small, unarmed against such warriors, refused to run. He had no chance of surviving, yet his courage gave her strength she hadn't realized she needed. The hunters stopped a few meters away, scanning the clearing. One of them stepped forward, voice cold and metallic. Kaylara of the Crimson Battalion, you are in violation. Surrender. Aaron raised the rifle, his hands shaking. You'll have to go through me first, he shouted. A laugh, low and cruel, rolled through the clearing. The human dares? Pathetic. Kaylara's energy blade hissed to life in her hand. Sparks of blue light danced across her wounds, her power fueling itself through sheer will. She stood in front of Aaron, positioning herself as a shield even though her body still throbbed with pain. Her mind raced, calculating strategy, while her heart swelled with an emotion she could not name. Pride, fear, and a strange warmth all collided inside her chest. The hunters advanced, weapons raised. Aaron's first shot rang out, clumsy but determined, barely scratching the surface of their armor. One hunter fired in return, tearing through the forest and sending Aaron sprawling to the ground. Pain ripped through him, but he struggled to rise again. Kaylara roared, energy blade swinging with precision and fury, each strike fueled by the human who refused to hide, the human who had risked his life for her. She had fought countless battles, faced endless death, yet never had she fought with such fire, not just for survival, but for someone else. The hunters faltered. They had underestimated the bond, the courage, the strange strength that radiated from a human fighting beside a warrior. Sparks flew, metal clashed, and the clearing erupted in the sound of battle. But through it all, Kaylara and Aaron stood together, their resolve unbroken, and in the heart of the chaos, Kaylara realized something she had never truly understood before. Strength was not measured by weapons, numbers, or armor. It was measured by heart, courage, and the willingness to protect someone even when the odds were impossible. The forest clearing was alive with the sounds of battle. Sparks flew from clashing energy blades, and the ground trembled under the heavy steps of Valkyra hunters. Kaylara's energy blade sliced through the air, striking with precision born from years of war. Every strike was measured, deadly, yet her body still ached from her earlier wounds. She had survived the battlefield, the crash, and the hours of human care, but now she fought for something more. She fought for Aaron. Aaron lay behind a fallen tree, his rifle trembling in his hands. His shoulder burned where the hunter's weapon had hit, but he forced himself to rise again. Kaylara, don't let them overwhelm us, he shouted, though his voice cracked with pain and fear. She caught his words, her heart swelling with a mix of pride and worry. Humans were fragile, yet this one had faced death without hesitation. He had risked everything for her, and now she could not let him die. Her strikes became faster, her movement sharper, every swing of her blade fueled by a raw determination she had never felt in a battlefield before. The hunters were skilled, their energy weapons deadly, their numbers intimidating, but they had not counted on the bond between a human and a Valkyra warrior. Kaylara moved like a storm, each strike cutting down one hunter after another, while Aaron, despite his pain, used his rifle to distract and confuse the others. They fought as one, human and alien, different worlds, different species, yet united by courage and trust. One hunter advanced toward Aaron, weapon raised. Time slowed in that moment. Aaron's hands shook and his heart pounded in his chest. He had no chance to overpower this enemy, but he stood tall, refusing to move. The hunter fired. The shot grazed Aaron's leg, sending him to the ground. Pain seared through him, but he still lifted the rifle, determined to protect Kalara. Kalara's scream rang out, sharp and fierce. She lunged forward, energy blade striking the hunter with unrelenting force. Sparks flew as armor met blade, and the hunter fell unconscious. She knelt beside Aaron, pressing her hands to his wound. Her glowing touch burned, yet it healed. His pain eased, and he gasped as strength returned to his body. "You idiot," she said, her voice both scolding and filled with relief. "Do you know how close you were to dying?" Aaron smiled weakly, wincing from the pain. "Yeah, but we saved each other, didn't we?" Kalara's chest heaved, not from exhaustion, but from a new understanding. She had led armies, fought countless enemies, survived wars that would have broken many, yet she had never felt such respect, awe, and admiration for another being. This human, small and fragile, had faced death without fear. He had fought for her life not because of duty but because of heart. The remaining hunters hesitated. They had underestimated both the warrior and the human. The bond they shared, the courage that radiated from them, was something the hunters could not comprehend. Fear flickered in their eyes, a rare sight among the Valkara. One by one they fell back, realizing that victory was not theirs today. Kalara and Aaron stood together, battered and bruised yet unbroken. Smoke rose around them, the forest littered with the aftermath of battle. Aaron leaned on her shoulder, exhaustion and pain weighing him down, but his eyes sparkled with pride. Kalara, still trembling from the fight, allowed herself a small smile. "You are remarkable," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "Not your strength. Your heart, it is incredible." Aaron shook his head, trying to laugh, but the sound caught in his throat. "I just did what I had to." "You would have done the same for me, right?" Kalara nodded, understanding then what she had never understood before. Survival, courage, and strength were not only about skill or power. Sometimes they were about heart. Sometimes they were about standing up when the world tells you to run, about protecting someone who cannot protect themselves, about believing in another being enough to risk everything for them. The hunters retreated into the shadows, leaving the clearing silent except for the sounds of their labored breathing. Kalara's chest heaved as she lowered her energy blade. She looked at Aaron, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Gratitude, respect, and an unbreakable bond forged in fire and blood. Aaron brushed dirt from his clothes, wincing but smiling faintly. "Guess we make a pretty good team," he said. Kalara laughed softly, a sound she had not made in years, a sound free of fear and full of warmth. "Yes, human. A very good team." And in that quiet aftermath, with smoke drifting into the sky and the twin suns rising higher, Kalara realized that no weapon, no armor, no battlefield could compare to the strength of a human heart. The battle was over. Smoke and ash drifted into the morning sky, and the forest clearing lay quiet, scarred and still. Kalara and Aaron leaned against each other, bruised, bleeding, exhausted, yet alive. The Valkara hunters had retreated, leaving behind only silence and the faint scent of ozone and burned metal. Kalara lowered her energy blade and took a deep breath. For the first time since the crash, she allowed herself to feel peace. Her chest still ached and her body bore the marks of battle, but inside something profound had changed. She had survived. Not alone, never alone. Aaron had saved her, and in doing so he had shown her a truth her warriors had never taught. Strength is more than power. Strength is courage, heart, and the will to stand for another. Aaron leaned heavily on her, wincing as pain shot through his shoulder and leg. I think that's the last of them," he said, voice rough but triumphant. We did it." Kalara's blue eyes softened as she looked at him. "Yes, human. We did it. You saved me, and I—" She trailed off, unsure of words that could capture her emotions. How could she explain the depth of gratitude, admiration, and awe she felt for this fragile being who had risked everything for her? "You don't have to say it," Aaron murmured, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "I know. She studied him, really studied him, and realized she had underestimated humans for far too long. They were weak in body, yes, fragile, unarmed, and vulnerable. Yet their hearts, their courage, their willingness to act when it mattered most, it surpassed anything she had ever seen. She had fought wars, commanded armies, faced death countless times, and still she had never witnessed a bravery like his. A small, genuine smile touched her lips. I have always believed that warriors stand alone, that only the strong survive. But you proved me wrong. You taught me something I never knew. Aaron chuckled softly, though it was tired and weak. And what's that? That strength is not just in arms or armor or victories, she said, voice trembling. It is in heart, in courage, in protecting others even when the odds are impossible. You are the strongest being I have ever known. Aaron winced at the compliment, shaking his head. I'm not strong. I'm just human. Kalara laughed quietly, a sound full of relief and wonder. And that is why you are strong. Time passed slowly. Aaron helped her to a nearby rock where they both rested, staring up at the sky. The twin suns rose higher, illuminating the battlefield, now peaceful yet forever marked by the scars of war. Kalara knew that soon her people would find her. The Valkyra would arrive, their ships cutting through the sky, their judgment waiting. She would have to return to them to face questions, accusations, perhaps even punishment. But she would not go alone. She turned to Aaron, eyes steady and filled with determination. When my people arrive, I will not leave you behind. You saved me. You are part of my story now. And my people will see that humans are not to be underestimated. Aaron blinked, disbelief mixing with awe. You really mean that? Kalara nodded, her heart pounding. Yes, you risked your life for me. You showed me courage, mercy, and strength. My people will honor that. You will be safe, and I want you by my side. Aaron's chest tightened. He had faced fear, pain, and death. Yet now, hearing her words, he felt something stronger than pride. Belonging. He had survived because of his heart, because of the connection he had forged with an alien warrior, and now that bond would shape not just their lives, but the future between two worlds. As the first Valkyra ship descended, Kalara rose, strength returning to her limbs. She stood beside Aaron, her armor gleaming in the sunlight, her energy blades silent but ready. The hunter's presence no longer terrified her. She had courage of her own now, and a human by her side who had shown her the meaning of true bravery. When her people landed, Kalara stepped forward and spoke, her voice carrying across the clearing. This human saved my life. He is not an enemy. He is a friend, a hero. Respect him. The Valkyra soldiers hesitated, then bowed their heads, understanding that the warrior before them had chosen differently, that she had seen the strength in a human heart. Aaron looked at her, exhausted but smiling. Guess we did it, huh? Kalara returned his smile, her heart full. Yes, we did. Together. And as they stood side by side, human and alien, warrior and mechanic, she realized the truth that would stay with her forever. The strongest heart in the universe is not measured in battles won or enemies defeated. It is measured in courage, in mercy, and in the willingness to fight for someone else, no matter the cost. In that moment, the two worlds seemed smaller, closer, and brighter. And across galaxies, songs would one day be sung of the alien warrior and the human who proved that heart could conquer anything, even the impossible.